Everything's a little bit weird now, because tonight it is showtime. In the middle of the street light, oh, we celebrate a good time, because tonight it is showtime. Come and walk with me, 1, 2, 7, 3, down the Rockefeller Street. Life is marching on, do you feel that? 1, 2, 7, 3, down the Rockefeller Street. Everything is more than surreal.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Monster Review Girl content. Sorry for fumbling that intro there. I will get good at doing that intro someday, I promise. So in continuation with my collaboration with the wiki user, the Reptile King, love you dude, in a totally platonic friendly way, I'm gonna be covering the political structure and factions of the Reptile Kingdom. Within the Reptile Kingdom, there are a number of factions with various goals and desires, many being sanctioned and supported by the kingdom, and also some who are not. This is a list of existing factions who were formed within the kingdom and who have formed outside the kingdom and have set up power bases therein. The Hunters Guild. The Hunters Guild is a guild of elite warriors operated by civilian forces and supported by the kingdom's government. The purpose of the Hunters Guild is to maintain the safety of the people who live in the towns and cities of the Reptile Kingdom from the dangerous wildlife of the kingdom, as well as aid in ensuring the ecological balance of the kingdom. That is a mouthful of a mission statement right there, folks. Like, seriously. They do this primarily by culling problem animals or capturing them and moving them to more appropriate locations. The guild has formed an entire subculture around itself and has spread to have power in every region of the kingdom, largely out of necessity for hunters to protect the human population and maintain balance between the civilization and the wilds. Hunting hubs can be found in nearly every large town, sometimes the hub itself being the entire town. Hubs often feature specialty shops for hunters and their supplies. A smithy dedicated to hunting gear, restaurants serving guild members, a pub, living quarters for the hunters, training grounds, and a quest board and gathering area for the hunters. Also, nearly every town or village has a hunter and a guild representative stationed there as a line of defense and medium for guild negotiations. The guild also has connections to the Reptile Kingdom College and has a subsection called the Y Academy, which is responsible for nearly all the field research on the wildlife of the kingdom. The Y Academy also keeps track of the populations and habitat range of all the major species in the kingdom, which the guild uses to determine what animals need to be moved where, what animals can or cannot be hunted, and how the civilized people in a region should be permitted to interact with the local ecosystem. While the Hunters Guild is primarily tasked with maintaining the ecological balance within the Reptile Kingdom and maintain the safety of the civilized sections of the country, they work under a sort of mercenary system. The hunters themselves are essentially independent contractors who select quests out of a selection that the guild permits them to go on. The guild limits the hunters' quests based on their hunter rank, which is determined by their overall skill level and will be raised after having been tested via a particularly difficult mission called an urgent quest. While the guild frequently makes missions of their own to send hunters on, the majority of their missions comprise of requests from various individuals and organizations. This means that while the higher-rank hunters are often contending with nearly godlike beasts who shift the balance of entire ecosystems with their mere presence, lower-ranking hunters usually find themselves picking mushrooms, gathering herbs, or mining ore from regions too dangerous for other people to enter, or culling populations of smaller, less dangerous creatures. The majority of hunters spend their time dealing with problem animals that are interfering with towns and trade routes. The Reptile Kingdom Dragoon Division. The Reptile Kingdom Dragoon Division is one of 2 military branches in the kingdom. Like dragoons in other nations, they specialize in aerial combat and riding dragon-type mammono. Though the majority of dragoons only ride wyvern or drake-type dragonoid mammono instead of full dragon or ryu. However, due to the greater diversity of dragons in the Reptile Kingdom, the Reptile Kingdom Dragoon Division performs many more services than dragoons in other nations. They have a fierce rivalry with the Tyrant Division, which we will be getting to in a moment. The main garrison of the Dragoons is comprised of their primary fighters. They are comprised of wyvern-type dragonoids and their riders. They serve as military units and act as aerial dominants on the battlefield. However, they also support the Hunters Guild on occasion. The ground-type guard garrison is comprised of riders of Drake-type dragonoids as well as wyverns who are weak flyers. They serve as guardians of bases and encampments as well as serve as surface warfare experts. The naval garrison is comprised of aquatic drakes and coastal wyverns and their riders. They do naval and coastal combat and have numerous large ships to act as mobile ports as well as coastal bases. The support garrison is comprised of weak wyverns and drakes unsuited for combat, married humans, humans married to non-dragons, and dimorphs. They maintain the dragoon bases, act as suppliers and medics, and operate the airships that the dragoons have recently begun using as carrier craft. The feral garrison has no mammono and is instead comprised of humans who have managed to tame a dragonoid beast, you crazy sons of guns. They act as members of other garrisons, however, due to their volatile nature of the wild animals, they remain separate from the other garrisons. The stealth garrison is the second smallest unit in the division. They are mostly comprised of Nargas and their mates. They act as spies, assassins, and counter-espionage units. The elite garrison is comprised of men who have managed to persuade true dragons and Ryus to act as their mounts. As can be expected, they are the leadership of the division and are the strongest members. Reptile Kingdom Tyrant Division. The Tyrant Division is the second half of the Reptile Kingdom military. They're similar to dragoons that ride Mammono into battle. Instead of dragons, they ride Tyranno-type Mammono. While they're often referred to as Tyranno riders, they rarely ride actual Tyrannos, instead riding the much more cooperative Allos, which will get their own video. They have fewer garrisons than the dragoons, but have just as many troops. The two hold a fierce rivalry, and while they don't actively fight each other except for the occasional bar brawl, they do become competitive. The main garrison acts as the primary combat garrison. They are almost entirely comprised of Allo riders. They are the main ground combat force and can also act as guardians against bandits and beasts when there isn't a war on. The feral garrison is basically like its counterpart in the dragoons, just they've learned how to tame and ride basically tyrannosaurs. Have fun with that, folks! They act the same as other garrisons, so they remain separate in case of an animal going nutso. The elite garrison is comprised of 2 Tyrannos and Tyrannic Mammono with special abilities such as Bracchies and Glavs. They perform various roles depending on the abilities of their mount, as well as acting as the leadership and their powerful fighters. The Berserk garrison is a dedicated combat garrison. Gigants, which I've done a video on, and Tamed Joes, those I'm gonna let you take a wild flaming guess what those are. And their riders. Due to their berserker tendencies, they tend to be treated similarly as the feral garrison and are kept separate from the other garrisons and civilians. The Lordomes. The Reptile Kingdom has a large number of lords reigning over territories within the kingdom. In truth, the Reptile King himself does very little in governing the kingdom, beyond a few instances in which he feels the need to directly intervene in creating laws that he demands be followed due to moral reasons. The king behaves more akin to a patron god than a governing ruler. The actual governing of the kingdom is left in the hands of lords. The lords' territories are referred to as lordomes. Due to the size of the kingdom itself, each of the lordomes is the size of an average country outside the kingdom. The lords largely given free reign over the lordome, however, should the king be given order, it is to be followed, lest the lord be replaced. Despite not actively governing, it is commonly assumed that the king keeps an eye on his lords, and should a lord abuse his power too much, he will be disposed of. The fact that a lord who grows arrogant or apathetic tends to disappear before being replaced seems to support this. The lords can maintain standing military and police forces. Each lord is responsible for maintaining their forces and order within the lorddom. However, the exact borders shift, and they trade, war, and form alliances much the same way nations do outside the kingdom. The Reptile King permits this, partially because allowing these things encourages growth within the kingdom, but also because he finds them amusing. It should be noted, though, that the Lordomes will unite under the Reptile King's leadership should the need arise, casting aside their squabbles in an instant to deal with a greater threat. There are still large stretches of land that remain unclaimed and thus remain wild in the reptile capital, and the areas surrounding it are under the control of the king, not any particular lord. All other factions on this list are not controlled by a lord. The Tyrants, Dragoons, and Hunters Guild and are operated separately or supported by the kingdom as a whole, and are therefore outside the lordship's control, answering to the king instead. The Order of the Maidens' Blade. Commonly known as the Order of Ninja Maids. Okay, seems legit. The Order of the Maidens' Blade is an order dedicated to the merging of the shinobi and housekeeping arts. At first glance, the two arts would seem unrelated, however, the order brought them together seamlessly. Utilizing ninja skills to clean more quickly, more efficiently, and get hard-to-reach areas with ease, while simultaneously keeping the unsightly aspects of housekeeping hidden from view, and using the art of hiding weapons to keep cleaning materials unnoticed and within easy reach. The ninja arts profiting from the maid arts by providing the ninja an easy way to hide in plain sight while rooting out spies or assassins in their master's home, and act as a bodyguard without raising suspicion. Often many cleaning tools can be used as a weapon, or a weapon can be disguised as a cleaning tool, and a well-designed maid uniform can both hide weapons and distract foes with the maid's, assets. Because of the seamless fusion of these two arts, the order has gained a great deal of fame, particularly with Mamono seeking to make themselves more attractive to a man, which comprises more than 80% of their members. Maid geckos seeking to overcome their species' weakness in order to protect their master, or Narga wanting to gain domestic skills to better care for a husband, often come to the order to gain these skills. Not only this, but word of mouth has spread outside the kingdom, luring in kunoichi, kikimora, and shaggoths, and many other Mamono who are not typically maids, or ninjas, also come to the order to attempt to learn the ninja maid arts. The Order of the Maiden's Blade is based outside of the Yukumo village. Their main base has several mansions used for training new members and is also where most of their funds are gathered. The Order primarily gathers funds by acting as a paid matchmaking service for single Mamono and a resort for people wanting to be waited on by the trainees and permanent members. The Order is also known to hire out permanent members to do mercenary work, rooting out spies, and, assassins for wealthy customers. The Ryder Tribe. The Ryder Tribe is a small organization often viewed as a counterpoint to the far larger and more influential Hunters Guild. Like the Hunters Guild, the Ryder Tribe is tasked with maintaining the balance between civilization and the savage wilderness of the Reptile Kingdom. However, they do this not by culling problem animals, but by nurturing the creatures of the wild and combating forces that would damage the land's ecology. Their primary tool is called a kinship stone, a powerful item made from a rare ore. Kinship stones allow riders to not only forge powerful bonds with the savage beasts anyone else would fear, but also cleanse the beasts and the environment of foreign and corruptive elements. The method of creating kinship stones, as well as the location where ore is used to create them is mined, are both jealously guarded secrets. Many within the Ryder Tribe fear the misuse of kinship stones, often claiming that it can bring about an evil that only the greatest of heroes and most legendary of beasts can overcome. Despite their differences, both the Ryder's Tribe and the Hunters Guild are remarkably similar in both the structure of their organizations and in the equipment they use. Given the difference in size, many members of the Ryder's Tribe use the Hunters Guild facilities and resources despite not being outright guild members. And finally, the Sabbath. The Sabbath has made numerous operations within the kingdom and has a few small outposts within the kingdom's borders, despite being viewed as an unwelcome intruder by the native people. In the manner of a chaotic and capricious deity, the Reptile King has apparently declared some sort of prank war on them and often makes a point to antagonize them on a regular basis. Because of this, the Sabbath makes frequent attempts for revenge and often tries to bring the people of the Reptile Kingdom into the Sabbath or to prank the king himself. Often this backfires on them, as many of the natives of the kingdom find the notion of lollies and lollicons to be distasteful, and most of the native Mamono have strong parental instincts combined with the Mamono idea of predation, makes the idea of lollies and lollicons nearly intolerable. where crocodiles are particularly hostile to any members of the Sabbath, calling them the egg breakers and hatchling hunters. This is to the point that even a Baphomet who are familiar with the reptile kingdom will flee a were-crocodile on sight, despite the fact that she should be stronger. The Sabbath has also taken an interest in the ruins of Shrade, and the ancient magical knowledge and artifacts that lay within. Many of the elder members of the Hunters Guild, Ryder Tribe, and Wyverian fear that the Sabbath may dig too deep and discover things that are best forgotten, things that even the gods and demons should fear, or worse yet, anger that which buried those things in the first place. So far, the Sabbath has found little and refuses to listen to the warnings, thinking it only superstition, and believing that their magical expertise can overcome anything they may find. To which I say, really, girls? Really? When everyone around you is telling you to not do the thing, maybe, just maybe, you don't do the thing. Just, oh my word. This has been Monster Review Girl. Like if you've enjoyed this, subscribe for more. There will be more content soon. See you then. Bye-bye.